the Safety Doc Podcast with author, radio host, and nationally recognized safety expert, Dr. David Perrodin. Join us each week as we discuss the best and most bizarre practices in safety preparation and crisis response. Follow Dr. Perrodin on Twitter at SafetyPhD. And remember, the truth will keep you safe.
Hey everybody, it is your good friend the Safety Doc from down here in the North Star recording studio in a very chilly Wisconsin. So I don't have an audio drag off of this morning, so if you can't hear me, wave like crazy and knock and clap your hands, and then also just say, hey, I can't hear you. But I think I've got everything set. I just don't want to wear headphones today. If I guess I could have put them on, taken them off, but I think everything is good here to go. Hey, it's All Pro Lemonton falling in. Welcome. Solitude Surfer, Jim McIntosh, Mictobus, welcome here on this Friday morning. So yeah, let's see what is happening for me. A little bit of snow today. I am excited. The commercial or the trailer, I guess the trailer for my book came out, I think Monday. Yeah, it came out Monday afternoon, right before my show Monday night. So that was cool. And let's go over Face Validity. So this is Face Validity Friday, and there is an intro that's being developed for this show. Also kind of like a intermission for either this show or definitely for Monday night's show, the regular Safety Doc. And that's going to be pretty cool. That's almost done. So yeah, and we're going to be changing up the intro for I think that show too a little bit. So what is Face Validity? So, hey, Mictobus, thanks. Sound is good. Face Validity is your observation. If you're looking at a thermometer and it's snowing out, you're freezing, you can barely keep your traction, everything is ice. And it's like, whoa, it says 88 degrees. It's like, that's not correct, right? The thermometer is broken, or your senses are deceiving you. If the thermometer is broken, get rid of it. Get a different one, check it against a few other thermometers, right? And then if your senses are deceiving you, then you need to talk with other people, get input from your member check. You need to get a hold of Jim. You need to get a hold of Mictobus and All Pro Lemonton. Say, hey, what's the temperature? Now, granted, they might all be in places where the temperature is 85 degrees and they're on a beach and they're on their phone and they just kind of got the dock on as they're looking out over the beautiful blue waters and the very gentle waves. So it might be 85 degrees, but probably won't be snowing. But if people around you, right, close to you, they're going to say, no, what you're perceiving, David, is not accurate. So that's the benefit of your member check network, which I write about in the Velocity of Information. So those two things go hand in hand. Face validity, what you observe, and that you're something's busted with the mic. Audio 5x4. All right. Let me take a drag here. Something audio 5x4. Radio guy, I know my audio. I don't know what that means. And I don't have this plugged in. So this cord is all snaky. Yikes. All right, guys. How's that? All right. Coming off a little hot mic. Better? All right. Yeah, I think we're loud, slight distortion. Okay, how about right now? I just turned down the gain, put the mic a little bit away. Could be better. Mic's been a little precarious lately. I've had to reset it a couple times. 5x5 is loud, clear. Okay, audio 5x4. Okay, loud, slight distortion. So for my headphones, like things sound okay now. Are we okay? Better. Good. All right. So I'm going to have to do something with with the mic. I don't know if the mic is starting to give up the ghost on me, or if anybody wants to email me, or I can look at some live software that can show my my gain, because I don't have a visual once I start the show on the gain. So, all right. So hopefully Make to Visit still sounds fine right now. Yeah, always. You always use cans in the studio. So, well, Jim's got all the terminology going today. So, wow, I'm learning. So yeah, things are sounding fine through the through the headphones. So we got face validity. When you are requesting that of other people to hold them to that standard. So basically, you're asked them to, what did you observe? Not like what they said, what you observed. So a few things to start off. One of my friends, his name is David Ballman, and he made a post yesterday in LinkedIn. And I actually used to work with David. So David is blind, completely blind since birth. And he posted and he said, these COVID at home tests, completely inaccessible to people who are blind, which is it's a very valid point, right? So many things that are developed are never developed with universal design in mind. So yeah, it is just, you wonder how that stuff kind of happens, or what the adjustments can be made for accessibility for people with low vision who are blind for testing, or what. But I thought that was, when he brought that up, I'm like, yeah, like everybody's making these tests, and right, government and stuff like that, and nothing it's not accessible. When I worked at the school for blind, that wasn't uncommon to have a lot of stuff even come out from the state, right? Comes out from the state and it'd be completely not accessible to students who are blind. I thought the N95 mask in the last like 24 hours, the statements on that have been interesting. I was shopping at a big box store. So hey, I think I just responded to you, Jim. So yeah, a good friend, Windows 7 here, buddy. So yeah, if anybody wants to just also let me know, like a free, I know they're out there, some kind of free program that I can just always keep up on a side monitor, and then I can track my gain on that. When you start out, right, in Streamlabs or whatever, it always shows you like your gain and stuff like that, but then it disappears. So you need like a real-time gain monitor. So the whole N95 mask thing, right, from a face validity standpoint, hearing, oh, the CDC come out and say cloth mask, don't cut it anymore, you got to go to N95 and things like this. Well, it's a little late, right? The horse is out of the barn. Barn's closed, barn fell down. And the whole thing of we're going to get out 500 million of these or whatever. Well, per my research, they're not reusable, right? They beyond a couple days. So a week's supply, right? Really? I mean, if that's what you're doing here. So, and stores are still going to allow anybody in with, if they have a mask mandate. If you're wearing a bandana, a coffee filter, a rubber band, all that stuff, anything from Etsy, the million masks that you can get. So yeah, it's, I just look at that and say that's from face validity. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it will be quickly expended. The logistics trying to get all of this stuff out, and it's like I said, it's just pointless. So, but it's virtue signaling. So, welcome to Man Against the Masses. And Jim, there's a lot of free paid Audacities. I do have Audacity, so yeah. I need to spend a little time after the show and just figure out what I can put running in a small box, so I can just always see my gain. So I think it's pretty good overall. And then anytime I usually go back and level audio if I produce something, but it can. So I don't need concurrent tracks. I need one. So you guys can help me out. So I have 4 stories today. And by the way, I am looking for um yeah. Hey, working but here for the thumbs up. Thank you, man, against the Manses. I appreciate that. By the way, like the show watch hours have increased sharply in the last few weeks. So um that was a big thing, right? Got over 1,000 subscribers, but did not have the 4,000 watch hours, and largely due to last year between January and August, I wasn't producing shows. I was writing the book. So now once I got back into it, but oh my goodness, like in the last just couple of weeks here, I've been looking and the watch hours have been jumping. So that is it. Yeah. So putting back to Jim here. I have four headlines today. And when I put these together, it takes me about 2 hours to pull together these headlines. Um, and I learn a lot. This has been very helpful for me. And let me get into the first one. So, Arizona Daily Independent. Da-da-da, our good friends from the Arizona Daily Independent. Bashas. See, Bashas is a store, so it's like a Kroger or a Food Lion or whatever. So Bashas is a grocery store. It's a chain. Bashas seeing perfect storm offers assurance to customers that shelves won't be empty for long. Okay, so let's bring up the article again. This is from the Arizona Daily Independent, and here we go. I'm going to move us over to there right now. Our good friend Bashas. But first of all, I'm going to have some coffee here. So remember last week I had the issue with the coffee cup failing. It's kind of repeated today to a lesser extent. So I think they just got in a bad batch of cups because I regularly get coffee from this place and these cups, and this just doesn't happen. So I'm not sure. Like I have to do the coffee diaper right here. It's not as bad today, but it's the same thing. It's the seam is like not holding up on the side. That is some good coffee. Kona Dark. So some high powered. I used to do like 2 of these, and that was pretty wild. So. Oh my God. So good morning, Robert. It's warmed up a little bit here. I think about 30. So no need for the zero white oil today, but it's going to be cold in a few days. Colder, back to zero. Coffee diapers. So it's what it's got right now. So let's go over here to this first article. This is actually also my original mic. This is the same mic Aaron Clary has, my good friend Aaron. And so yeah, it's a USB Blue Yeti, which I've had now for 5 or 6 years. So I don't know what's going on, but I'll get it figured out. I've got some options too. Like I just use a different mic. This will be a problem, but here, okay, so Bashas seeing perfect storm offers assurances to customers that shelves won't be empty for long. So again, it's a grocery store chain. This is January 11th from the ADI staff reported. Does it give anybody's name? No, not really. So anyway, whenever you see, and we've talked about this for face validity, whenever you see a story but it doesn't list a specific reporter, like that, it takes it down a notch. It's a lesser grade of story. You should be able to have somebody directly this is assigned to that you can cite, that you could contact it so example, like, the staff reporter, what if Bosch has wanted to make a comment on this? Or, they could then contact, because this is locally written, this reporter and say, hey, I represent Bashas and I want to give you an update here on our supply stuff. So it's when you recognize the whole staff reporter thing and nobody's name, those are usually very quickly written. And there's kind of zero accountability for those. And they're also very hard to cite in research, but just kind of a thing as you're going through and start to recognize it. So there's Bashas. It's like, here we are, we're Bashas. So let's read through this. Let me make it a little bigger here. So Bashas, it's the place for you. We sell everything, but nothing's in stock today. Whoa. So morning, MKJO. So over here to Jim, I am running wired. Everything's wired. Nothing's Wi-Fi. So yeah, absolutely. I do have. Oh God, I forget. I have a Zoom 3 or a Zoom 4, which is really nice. Which I suppose I could change out. I'd have to put it on a little tripod and set it in front of me, which wouldn't be a big issue. But I bought that new, maybe like 4 years ago. Very rarely used. That would probably be a significant upgrade on audio, but not that that's bad. I mean, I know a lot of people who are just doing podcasts from their phone in their car. So, so here's from Bashas. So on Tuesday, the grocery store Bashas advised members of the Navajo Nation that the company is experiencing the perfect storm, which is causing empty shelves and also leaky roof. The company said it is experiencing never before seen staff shortages at the company's distribution center in Chandler, Arizona, as well as issues related to the failing supply chain. Keep going down. So this is a letter from Bashas. We're not going to read it. So this has to do with this. The stores serve the area, but including the Navajo Nation. So they're reiterating here, we are not running out of food. We are working around the clock to make sure all of our stores have food. And that's kind of it. So there we go. 15 replies to our good friends at Bashas, Food City, Bashas Dine Market. So Diner Market. So let's look at the headline first. Bashas seeing perfect storm offers assurances to customers that shelves won't be bare for long. So from Phase Validity, what is perfect storm is, well, it's in quote, but so it's a little vague here. But when you see something like this, perfect storm, a storm is transitory, right? So the purpose of the Phase Validity here is they're just trying to say this is short term, fluke of events. We'll get through it. So that's the Phase Validity. So as we go in and we check here, we kind of read through this. They're saying, though, this is something that kind of changes this. Never seen before staffing shortages at the company's distribution center, as well as failing supply. The failing supply chain's a Loki, right? It's really about the pandemic. We talked about Loki before, just like blaming it on stuff. But this never seen staffing. This is pretty congruent with multi industries. Like I spoke to some of my friends in healthcare who are saying, the shortages. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So I'm kidding. I do sing. I'm going to sing the Bashas jingle here at the end. So, so I think the Phase Validity here is they're putting this off. This should really be that they have insufficient staff. This is a staffing issue. Now, of course, they can say it's going along with whatever. What does failing supply chain mean? But staffing shortages. So what is a shortage? So what is your normal? What are you down? Like, how are you trying to recruit? Are you down 20%? Are you down X number of people? Like, has this been? So you need some way to objectify this. So here's the thing, right? Look at this memo sent out, letter from Bashas to the Navajo community, right? So from a Phase Validity standpoint, we know that you when you communicate bad news, right? It is best to communicate with a lot of visuals in addition to some very pointed statements, right? But so if you're sending this out to, people, this is like they're going to be like, oh, it's a letter from whoever here from Bosch, the Navajo Nation president, on the letter from Bashas to the Navajo community. So this is overwhelming. This letter is just going to be dismissed, right? So there needs to be some image stuff that goes in with this for even assurance, right? For good messaging, maybe some pictures of the warehouse where you do have people unloading things, or there should be some combination here of imaging that conveys this message. So phase validity, they're trying to just say we've got stuff, we just don't have people to manage it in the warehouses and get it into the stores. So another thing here from phase validity, wouldn't you expect and shelves won't be empty for long? Well, okay, what does that mean for long? And the other part is, well, if this is a failing supply chain that you can't solve because you're Bashas, like that's you're just Bashas, right? And never before seen staffing shortages. What's going to change that? So you have nothing in here that really indicates how you're going to. I mean, so you might be able to ramp everybody, pull your resources and make it a priority or whatever, and get everything stocked one time. But you're not going to be able to repeat that. You're not. So whatever you're seeing now is likely to continue. This will be short term. That you're going to be able, like people will go in next week, they'll be like, oh, Bashas. By God, the jingle is right. Bashas. All the things are in stock at Bashas. Dun dun. And then it's not going to be that way. So from phase validity, what this is trying to convey to people, this article is, this is transitory. It's people are out. It's not saying people are out because of testing positive for the virus. They're saying staffing shortages. So what does that mean, right? Because of virus? Is it because of you can't hire? There's no one staying on the job, or so all of the stuff. What are you doing to remedy that? And then this basically thing here, this big letter that comes out from phase validity. Anytime you see people who try to calm nervous waters with a letter, the letter needs to be, and I've researched this because I think I did a show on this on the safety doc, and it was communication in crisis, and I talk about this in my school leadership superintendent classes. And if you have if you have bad news to share, you should it should be about 50 words, maybe 75 words, and that's it. So you don't, because people can digest that. It's not visually overwhelming to people. This letter is put together by their PR team and probably their lawyer. And it is in this whole thing here where you're saying we are not running out of food. Like that should have been right up above. And you should add some bullet points in here. And again, some visuals. So, but anyway, Bashas. Damn it, I expected more out of Bashas, especially after they added the free Wi-Fi. That really is damn disappointing. So, Flying Rich, wouldn't you agree? And they can 3D print things. My goodness, I have an article, or I have a something about 3D printing I just posted on Twitter that I'm going to go to in just a second, which I thought was remarkable, and I thought I'd share it with you. So, Jim is telling me using Restream.io get you more watch. So, man. Now, Jim, you do realize I'm old. I know I look very young to you on the video just does this. So you're like, oh my God, this young hip guy. Unfortunately, it's not accurate. Maybe hip, but not young. So I'm not unwilling. I'm unknowing, and that makes it impossible. So I need a little more tutorial, or if you're willing to be like, gosh darn that doc, I'm going to help that guy out, and then we can set up a Zoom or a stream or whatever, and you can say, bring this up and do this and bring this up, and that would be pretty cool. So it's yo, yo, yo. Here's what All Pro Lemonton has to say on our Bashas. I don't think there's a worker shortage in corporate. Every accounting posting at my company gets tons of applications, right? So, yeah, right there. So, where is the shortage? It's at certain levels of this. How does someone have an invisible wrench? Wild. So, I don't know that invisible is. I'm looking over here. Um, okay, I don't know. I got to go back to it. So is MK okay? Outdoors under. Sorry here. All right, well, MK Joe, I'm gonna do something here for you. You're gonna remember this January 14th as the day you got blue wrenched, not in a bad way. So don't don't be telling people that. Um, So don't go out and say, "Hey, I got blue wrench today." People are like, "I'm sorry." Like that happened to me once. You, my friend, are now blue wrenched. So, uh, and let me get back. I'm running a 3-screen setup here. So pretty wild, pretty wild. Okay. So we learned from this article here, and welcome, Flying Rich, that Bashas is basically face validity is our purpose here. They're trying to pass this off as transitory, but then they write about this of being basically completely not transitory. They have no plan. They're not giving you an indication of how the change from baseline is for staffing shortages, how they're going to fix it. And then they're basically saying, and it's basically related to the failing supply chain, which is a Loki, Norse god of chaos, meaning you can blame anything on the Loki and you don't have to take responsibility. So you're not going to solve the failing supply chain. You might be able to pull off the hat trick of stocking the stores one time in full, but otherwise, this would be better served to communicate that you're going to be adjust. The reality is you're going to maybe be adjusting hours, prioritizing things, and stuff like that. So you don't have this article 2 weeks from now and people are like, "Hey, like the store was full, I bought everything, now it's empty again." And never communicate bad news, especially to if you're communicating to people who are going to your grocery store. That's different than communicating bad news if you're a JP Morgan and you're doing this in a note or a formal press release. These are to consumers who you have to put this at a very a readable level, like a newspaper level. This isn't written for. I mean, this is the industry lingo, right? So, and maybe that's their thing, is they're trying to just like assure people we know what's going on because we can use the letterhead, and we wrote a very sophisticated letter and we know how to put capitals like too late down. I don't know. Bashas, gosh darn it. I liked you for so long. You had a great deli. Great deli. Nice General Tao chicken. Now I can't go there. Bashas like, we have the leak-proof coffee cup. Never leaked once at Bashas, ever. If it leaks, everything in the cart's free. So, everything. That's Bashas. Oh my, TY, what a great Friday gift. Hey, you got it, buddy. Jim, everything will go up. The Fed print. Wait, yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Inflation is nuts. I mean, my God, I went shopping twice this week. I had to get some stuff for a home project I was doing here. And thankfully, like, the labor's free because it's just me. It doesn't mean the labor's great. It just means it's free. It was okay. But a project I needed to work on. But I'm like, the stuff for that was outrageously high for stuff that last year would have cost much less. Light bulbs are expensive too. Remember, like LED light bulbs. Oh yeah, like they'll last for 20 years. Like I've replaced half of them in my house in the last year. But those have gone up a lot. Greenbacks or banknotes or certificates of debt. Look it up. Yeah. No, man. I know, buddy. I know. I see the stock market took a puke this morning. So I'm trying to figure out how to play that long term here for the doc, right? So I'm not a day trader or anything, but of course, plan to retire. Well, I am kind of retired, but plan to use those retirement funds at some point. Anyway, Bashas. Bashas is like, get off of our topic here. Leave us alone. What have we done to you? I'm like, well, God, now you get the live screen here. It's not, you're not supposed to see that, but nothing bad on it. But Georgia Star News. No, gosh, number 2, before it's time. Before it's time. U.S. Army to begin formal training to fight American Patriots. Operation Pineland. Operation Pineland. By the way, if you haven't gone in and given this a thumbs up, please do so. If you haven't subscribed from any of your 38 YouTube channels, please subscribe from all 38 of your YouTube channels. Share this with friends. Keep it on in the back when you're working at home projects and thinking, I wonder how Doc is installing these stops here for the sliding doors for the closet downstairs. I wonder how he's doing that as you're listening to a show. So novel, not the way it was ever designed to be done, but it seems to work. So thank you. And then one more thing here before we get into the second article is I know. School of Airs, right? Buy it. $30. All right. Now with inflation, like that's really like spending $3. But no. So most honest book ever written about the school safety, $3 billion industry. But the thing is, so many great stories in here. And you know, how did 900,000 people or 500,000 people be rescued in 9 hours from Lower Manhattan? So, you know, information when I was working with the New York Department of Planning, interviews with Katie Pachon, Cajun Navy, how the Cajun Navy comes in after hurricanes and rescues, and how FEMA kind of is like, hola, see ya. And just all these crazy things that like schools spend money on. So as a taxpayer driving by your school and you're like, oh, those yellow bollards out in front of the door. But like you'll read my chapter 28, where that's not only not a good idea, but like bollards in places they shouldn't be lead to maiming and death. So, whoa. But yeah, School of Airs. And if you read it, review it. That would help out a lot. So, okay, let me move my stuff back up here. So, yeah. Well, we are here for number 2. I don't have a jingle specifically for this one. So here we go, and here we go, and here we go, and here we go. Before it's news, U.S. Army to begin formal training to fight Patriots. So let's go to this one. This one is very relevant to me because it goes along with an interview in the book I did with Clay Martin, Concrete Jungle. So, hey, it's the Agorizer. How's everybody's data stream today are good from the Agorizer? All right. So, yeah. All right. What in the... What is... All right. I'm checking a real-time message here. And let's see what it is. It's absolutely spam. Okay. U.S. Army to begin formal training to fight Patriots. Let's bring it up. All right. Operation Pineland. Hey, everybody, it's Pineland, which is real sappy and tarry, and it's real messy. So Pineland. U.S. So this came out Tuesday, January 11th. It made the rounds. I saw people who did entire shows on this. Like, is the government planning on it basically Fort Bragg, right, for a insurgency against its own citizens, right? I mean, so this was no. I'm not joined before. I'm not joining. So anyway, But this was crazy. This had a lot of people worried. So let's do face validity on it. U.S. Army to begin formal training to fight American Patriots, Operation Pineland. Okay, so face validity, it's a training. Okay, to fight American Patriots. Okay, so it's initially interesting and probably concerning. So what this would mean is you can do two things. You can pass the headline, right? Which most people do. War of the Worlds back in 1938, we know, before people would go outside, check if people, Martians were invading their area, they would just call their people around them and say, hey, the Martians are here. So do you pass the headline, which a lot of people did? And this came to me, like people emailing me this headline. But then it's like, okay, you need to read this. Look at all these guys out there. There's Jim, there's Agrazer, MK Joe, there's Mictibus right over here. So yeah, this is pretty crazy stuff. So here we go. How an entire nation's heritage, traditions, and people be criminalized? How can? Since when do Americans owe anyone the right to inject them with their will? Okay. So anyway, a realistic guerrilla war will be fought across 24 North Carolina counties this month with young soldiers battling seasoned freedom fighters, according to the U.S. Army. Freedom fighters means American citizen patriots. Our army is now officially being trained to kill us. Well, there's a little bias in this article, right? The 2-week unconventional warfare will be staged January 22nd through February 4th on privately owned land. It'll be realistic enough to include sounds of gunfire and so on. So let's get into, first of all, so our friends here Before It Was News are really hyping this up. But this is what's known as Robin Sage training. Okay. So I wrote about this in my book, The Velocity of Information. This has been going on for decades. Robin Sage training. And it happens just like it's basically portrayed here. They have people from communities in these counties who are assigned different roles, right? Or they just are told to play themselves. Like, you're the storekeeper, you're the farmer, whatever. And the purpose of these drills is how you interface and get resources and things like that. And it's not violent, but with people this could be, a situation of destabilized country, or it's usually like you go into these humanitarian aid situations as a government. Think about Afghanistan, whatever. But which wasn't humanitarian aid. But anyway, this is Robin Sage training. If you look up Robin Sage, this has been okay. Maybe it wasn't Bragg then, Jim. But this is Robin Sage training, which is happening right here. This training has been done for 30 years. And this is a very common exercise. Part of it is also working with military police. So I talked to somebody who participated in this, who was military police about 15 years ago, and said, what, the training is, how do you interface again with civilians who are either uncooperative, angry, so forth. This is a typical training. This is not this operation. The location where this happens is the same place. This has happened year after year. But again, let's look at this from and then there's a whole kind of debriefing and great. The people in the area actually look forward to this. That's when I had researched Robin Sage. This is something that the people in this 20 county area do not fear. They're versed in it, but some of them are told that, don't, if you're approached by whatever, military, and they're saying we need, some this and that, some of them are told, don't give it to them. So then they have to decide what they're going to do. An option to wipe you out isn't on the table, but yeah. So this isn't, yeah, this isn't um, unusual. This has happened before. Now, with the timing of all of this, like here's something though, and Mictobus has a great point on this. So storm is definitely brewing, prepare accordingly. It's because this is happening right now, because this has happened for years before, why would you not, as the military doing this, want to get out in front of this with a an interview, a short video about what this is about, a 3-4 minute something where you'd be ahead of this, right? And you're not. And that's something from a face validity standpoint. One is, as we look into this more, this is routine. It's yearly, last 20, 30 years. But why messaging? Why would you not try to get in front of this? Like, again, all the crazy stuff we see come out from the military for commercials, um, and this virtue signaling and things like that. The informative capacity of this right now, especially right now, right when you have all of this uncertainty, this uneasiness in the country, which is heightened, amplified by many things, especially also what's happening in the Ukraine. You have a concrete barriers now being installed in front of the White House without any mention of why that's happening. Just at the same time, this stuff ramps up. So the face validity is okay. We know that this, as we look into this headline is incomplete. This is something that happens not all the time, but this is a routine thing. But why is the messaging not better on this? So I think the face validity is, this is really disjointed messaging, and it's not something you can just go kind of and check. You can, if you know what to look for, like Robin Sage and things like this, but you can't necessarily like find or call people in that area, or clarify like what is happening. And I got to do a fair amount of research. And Clay Martin, who participated in this, and somebody else I know who participated in this, but so yeah, this whole mock operation here from Agrizer is just really, it's strange, like that right now you wouldn't do proper messaging on this. So yeah, you could move there, all pro Lemonton. It could be a yearly thing for you. So you could be like this crazy like cyclist, right? And you'd be smuggling things across county lines there, biking. So it'd be in the frame of your bike there. So maps and stuff like that. So yeah, so a scary headline. A lot of people just went with the headline. They forwarded the headline, and then when you got into it, the article itself was written to make you scared. So then you have to look into it more, and then hopefully eventually you get member check, or you find somebody else and you're like, okay, this is Robin Sage, this happens. And then there's still this other question, and it's like, why now, is with everything going on? And so this is really this disconnect, right, between either the military or Department of Defense or Pentagon and the US people. You don't have to let them know much on this. I mean, this article already has this, but you could again do imagine a 3 to 5 minute video. So I think, Jim, you're I think you're on right there. So yeah, I think you're on right there. So yeah, it is, and this will continue. You'll have people who will bring this up maybe in your circles, or hear about it. Hey, like they're doing this, like big thing and stuff like But again, this piece, and that's the part that gets to me is, how is this not messaged better? And by the way, I think today is the 4-year anniversary. I'm pretty sure it's today. 4 years ago today was the Hawaii missile crisis, when there were the alerts that came out in Hawaii on people's phones and the highway signs saying, hey, inbound missiles, like take cover. I wonder if that'll be on the news tonight. I wonder if there'll be a 20-second clip of that saying 4 years ago today. And I bet you there won't be. I will bet on national news there will not be anything of that. So, by the way, there was something really strange on my local news last night. They did a piece, and they hyped it like the last couple days. We have this piece coming up, and it's a grandmother in this kind of metropolitan area, not far from me, and her grandson they open campus at high school, so he would stop over for like lunch at grandma's house, right? And then he started to bring some of his friends, and now this grandma, there's like 10 or more kids every day for lunch who go there, and she makes these big meals, and kids are hanging out on the couch and playing video games, and so the TV does this big thing on it last night. And it wasn't only me, like my wife immediately recognized this. So I was like, am I just getting a bad read on this? But, and before I go on, good morning, John Steele. There we go. Hey, buddy. And I said, this is weird to cover. All right. Because, and then they show these kids eating. So at school, they'd have to be masked and socially distanced. In that county, they have a mask requirement. And they're all eating around this table. There's like got to be a dozen kids, and they're shoulder to shoulder. Nobody has a mask. But I'm like, this is really strange. Like the message communicated here. If you're going to do this, like, I guess you do it. But now, like this big thing, and the media builds it up, and they're interviewing this grandma, and she's, these kids and stuff. But I'm like, well, these kids, like, who's in charge of this? This isn't a one-time thing. Like the kids are going there regularly now. And then she said, I pay for this. Like me and my husband, we just set money aside and we pay for these meals. So it's got to be expensive. And it just is really strange. Because would you trust if your kids had come home to you in high school and said, hey, we're going over to this person's house and we're having like lunch every day, and then they're making us lunch and then whatever. And it seems like it just was such a weird piece when everything else is kind of going on. Like it was a third of the news. So it's just crazy. Hey, it's our friend Bacon Maldito. So let's get to number 3. So number 3 here is from the Georgia Star News. 5 facts about the U.S. trucker shortage. By the way, I am trying to get somebody to come on to the show. So if you know somebody who is a trucker or was a trucker, please let me know, because I want to do an interview and talk about how what truckers are dealing with in the last 2 years. What's changed? Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse? But I have specific questions, like right when March, April, places were shut down, restrooms. I mean, I was reading, truckers would have to, pee in a jar or like go out in the woods, and hard to find food. Or if you like unload it somewhere, you couldn't get out of your vehicle and go in, usually like in somebody's break room, and hang out or something. And so I want to understand what this looked like for people, because I also think right now, again, we are losing this, I don't know if it's not even an opportunity. It's just dignity and respect of how we need to treat our truckers, our over the road truckers. Yes, we could extend that to, train and, things like that, rail, but our over the road truckers, nobody did a essential worker parade for them, right? When they came into town, nobody brought the fire trucks in when the semis came in and unloaded food in town and stuff like that. So I think truckers are treated horribly, right? And I appreciate truckers. So, but we're not seeing initiatives, right, of saying, here's what we're doing to make sure that our truckers have their essential needs, food, showers are available to them, some basic medical as they're going on the roads, like overworked, putting in more hours, and it's more things closed down that they don't have access to. So that should have been like right away from the U.S. government with National Guard going to these areas. And by the way, my friends in Kentucky and out in Colorado have said, which is it's appalling but not unexpected. FEMA, and the National Guards sent out. Now state National Guards and state support seems to still be present, but Kentucky and Colorado, all this stuff, where the federal government, we're going to help you, like after the tornadoes and the wildfire which ripped up Superior, Colorado, and adjacent towns, destroyed 1,000 homes and several other hundred uninhabitable. Then it snows right afterwards. They didn't get any help. So people right there will tell me no. And right now, people in those areas are saying, we're not getting supplies either. Like, it was already stressed for everybody with supply chain, but no, it's not. So, but yet, all these where resources get allocated, I just think it's sickening. But let's get over here where it's not sickening. Let's get over to the Georgia Star. So what is something right here we talked about with face validity? Whenever you're reading an article, let me drink this coffee. I do remember Convoy, John Steele. I love that movie. I also like the song Convoy. Remember the dude who sang it just was like on like a bar stool, like just had a microphone in his hand, like has a whole video for Convoy. Hey, it's pretty good. We got a great big convoy driving through Seattle. We got a great big convoy. We're going to find John Steele. He's going to drive in the convoy. It's our good friend John Steele. All right. Then we're going to take the convoy, go to South Dakota, Aaron Clary. All right. So this is by Georgia Staff News. Anytime you see anything that's written by Staff News, it was quickly put together and no one's really taking accountability. So otherwise there would be a name here. So this makes it hard to, this actually isn't poorly assembled, but this is like, you can tell it's just like quickly pulling some numbers and stuff. So you don't expect a lot when you see something out of anything that says like Georgia Staff News. Now, did they assign this to one person here? I don't think they did. No. So again, that's an immediate face validity thing. We've come over that a couple times, but anytime you don't see somebody's name on a current article like this, January 11th again, it's going to just be data people quickly pull together, and no one wants the hot potato. Like, who wrote that? I didn't write it. I think John Steele wrote it. No, it's MKJO. That was Mictobis. So yeah, yeah. So that's one good thing here. Like on Face Validity Fridays, we started to. I didn't write about this either, like in the velocity of information, but so I do have some updates on that at some point. I don't know when I'll get into those, but. Yeah, anytime you see this, or anytime somebody forwards you an article or passes something off, and you immediately identify this, like point it out to them. And they might not get it. They might be whatever, but this in the news industry is a quickly assembled article to basically fill space. So this isn't that bad because the points at least are there, but like no one, you can't contact anybody. This will be quickly forgotten. It's a face spiller, not a face spiller, a space filler, or space balls. That's it. Space balls. That's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, Mictobis, thanks. I'm not, Convoy is great. Driving Seattle, it is a shortage. I hope that stays that way. So it's a good friend Bacon. And Flying Rich, Doc, I believe Guns and Barbecue is a former trucker. If you guys can help me out, I have one person who is willing to be on, but doesn't work directly as a trucker, kind of in the industry. I'd rather have a trucker. I want somebody who drives across some states. So I don't know how compatible that is with doing a show, but and just to say, what did you see? And then I want to couple that with, here's what should be done in a functioning, like, responsible government. So yeah, whoa, bacon, you guys. So here we go. Commentary: 5 facts about the U.S. truck driver shortage. So what do we expect in this? Face validity, facts, and truck driver shortage. Okay, and it's going to be centered on the U.S. So let's see. It's commentary. So commentary is not going to be too hard hit, but let's just see what they come up with in here. So right there. This is by No Labels. Remember No Labels? Used to do some of the best work from, hey, No Labels. And so yeah, it's really weird because you'd be at a meeting here at the Georgia Star, and like everyone would have their name tags up, and they're like, what's that guy's name? His name's No Labels. No Labels? Like Nolables? No, it's No Labels. All right. So, and then every time like they'd address him, they'd be like, no. And then it'd be like, are you saying no to his idea, or is that his name? It's his name. No labels. So, wow. No labels. I don't know. It's funny. The big insight: regulatory changes help alleviate a trucker shortage, making our supply chain problems worse. Okay. All right. There are many causes of the ongoing supply chain slowdowns impacting the U.S., but one of them is a shortage of truckers who move the bulk of goods to stores and consumers. Many jobs are being posted, but onerous certification and age requirements are preventing some of them from being filled. Okay, so let's see. They said they'd tell us 5 things. Let's actually see if they do. According to the American Truckers Association, the U.S. currently faces an all-time high shortage of 80,000 truckers. Okay, the American, got it. The group's chief economist says the number could be more than double the current decade. Okay, so fact, there's a shortage, and they gave a number 80,000. So appreciate that. Like, number 2, 4 million job postings for trucking positions in 2021 required a commercial driver's license at a minimum, and many also sought past professional experience. Okay. CL can cost 5,000 or more. Got it. Number 3, 4 out of 5 U.S. truckers are over age 45. 1 in 4 are age 55. Okay. Younger truckers are not entering the trucking industry at a high rate enough to replace the aging truckers, just 20%. All right. Turnover for truck drivers and fleets, this is number 4, with more than 30 million of annual revenue, was 92% at the end of 2020. So turnover for truck fleets. So turnover. All right. Interesting, because, all right, turnover as in year over year turnover, or not quite sure, but with more. So, all right, basically saying the bigger companies, the truck drivers aren't working as long for them. Number 5, the Transportation Department projected last year that ground freight totals will rise by 50%. Okay, got it. Drivers are needed. Okay, so here's the 5 things. Let's see if it kind of holds true to the article. 5 facts about the U.S. driver shortage. What's missing from here from Face Validity is a few things, right? So there should be, because, right, look at this. The regulatory changes could help alleviate a trucker shortage, making our problem chain worse. So, but part of this whole thing right now is, right, we have truckers are allowed to carry more freight and drive longer hours, less restrictions, since the pandemic. So that has contributed. So there's this force which has contributed to that, which is kind of missing in this article, right? Something else so this is fairly accurate for Face Validity. It said it would tell you 5 things about the shortage, and it did. Like, number 1 is about the shortage. Number 2 is more about the license stuff. And I did read where some legislators are looking at making 18-year-olds or allowing 18-year-olds to obtain CDL license. But So 4 out of 5 U.S. truckers are over the age of 45. I don't know if that necessarily would contribute exactly in real time to the headline here about the trucker shortage, but so all right, a few things. So from face validity, not bad. I mean, it's commentary, it's the staff thing, kind of tells you what it is. But the regulations, right? You're burning truck drivers out. They're not being treated well. Like you're talking about shortage. Somewhere in shortage is job satisfaction, right? And the treatment of your employees. There's nothing in here about saying paying more, treatment of truck drivers, right? Like those things, or an interview of a truck driver, or there's nothing from that kind of qualitative side, right? Of saying, of five. I don't like surveys, but at least surveys will give you something. But you're not getting a perception of the truck drivers. So what is it? Is it money? Is it job satisfaction? What is going on here? So yeah, and as All Pro Lemonton said, wait. So at Safety Act, see, yeah, I tried. I was talking with Mike Rowe's assistant, I think, on 3 different times in the last 6 months, and she said, "Yes, it's Mike Rowe." Because when I was working on the velocity of information, because there were things in there like that I thought Mike would be interested in, and it wasn't that he wasn't interested. It was that he had just started to film the new round of, I don't know, the show that he does, which Mike is probably listening like, Dave doesn't even know my show. But he had this crazy schedule, and at least that's the line that was coming back to me of saying he's not available. So, but I do listen to Mike's show, and yeah, I totally agree with you there. So, and this is interesting too. So, a lot of companies won't even hire under 25 many for letting 18-year-olds run a truck. So, yeah, it's a question. Maybe there's something to do with liability that's missing in here. So, these are from face validity. You go in, and I think a face validity question is, well, why? So, it says most of the truck drivers, like 45, older than 45, 80%. So where are the people under age 45? Or what's the barrier, right? Or barriers. So not that this is this big, long research article, but there should be a paragraph in there, because when they present it, it leaves this big gaping hole in their article. And by the way, welcome Toy Town Inc. So that reminds me of that semi Maximum Overdrive of the toy thing with the crazy green face on the front. That was a spooky movie with Emilio Estevez. But so what is happening here? Is it regulation? Is it that they're not hiring? Is it, that the younger people don't want to do it? Although, like, I did some additional research on this, and it seemed right that it would be more compatible to younger people who were. It's kind of like crab boat, like deckhand. Crab boat deckhands, if you're 18, 19, 20 years old going out as a crab boat deckhand in the Bering Sea, like that is different, because you don't necessarily have your roots set down, family, other obligations, things like that. So you're able to do this. You're able to experience things. But like if you go out there as a 30-year-old and maybe married and have a couple kids and a mortgage and things like that, it's a lot different experience. And Robert Travis, who I interviewed in my book, talks about that. So, so part of this is what is it in interviewing, and is it because of liability? Is it because that they don't want to do it, or how could you do it to incentivize or whatever? So, I don't know. Like, I also read a few articles where they interviewed 18-year-olds, and at least the 18-year-olds that were interviewed said, I'd be very interested in this, right? I mean, we said 18-year-olds to, into the military and, entrust 18, 19, 20-year-olds with, millions of dollars worth of equipment. But, there is, look at all of the kids, for years, right? 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, who were on a farm driving tractors. I was driving a tractor when I was 10 years old, on our farm. So, but so I think there's, so it's an interest. It's the 5 facts, but they missed an opportunity to at least, give an interview or try to find some survey or something, or contact a CDL school or something and saying, are you getting inquiries from younger people? And you have to turn them away because they said, well, yeah, wait, call us back when you're 23 years old or something like that. So I think there's more to this, right? And is it the other part of this too is like insurance? Do you have to pay? I mean, you're going to be working for someone. How many of these are independent? And at the very end. So let's go back to this. So it's the Georgia Star. So you don't expect this to be a real in-depth article because it's commentary, and it's also written by the Staff News, and it's also written by No Labels. That guy's got a lot of stuff to do. They're like, hey, where's No Labels today? He's out driving truck. CDL was like, yes. So we'll just leave him. So, but at the very end on these, like it should give a paragraph, and it should say, here's where you can. Here are some questions that need to be explored. Are younger people interested, but are they not being hired because of the law or because it's harder to insure them? Or 3 sentences saying, if you want to learn more about this, here's some areas to look. That really helps a story like this. But anyway, Georgia Star. Here's our theme song from Georgia Star. Hey, it's Georgia Star. Hey, it's Georgia Star. You're going to go far with Georgia Star News. So, I don't know. I think they should improve their it's by No Labels. Remember this guy. Anytime you hear No Labels, though, you can kind of like just be like, No Labels did that, though. No Labels knows what's going on. You can, there's a certain amount of, you're just like, it's No Labels. So they're like, yeah, it says commentary and it's by Georgia Star. It's like, was it written by No Labels by chance? You're like, well, yeah, it was. This guy is rock solid. Rock solid. We're talking Pulitzer Prize of a commentary article in the Georgia Star quality, No Labels. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, seriously. Like, you look in the front row at any NBA game, big game, it's No Labels. How do you know it's him? I'm like, look very closely at what he wears. Well, how do you know? It's like, No Labels, nothing. No branding, no Nike swoosh, no nothing. Solid color. Usually blue, sometimes orange, sometimes purple. Although, yes, you got to be careful with that. You don't want to come off as the Joker, but it's No Labels. Like, look at his shoes too. Like, just No Labels. It's a signature. Like, he's the bomb. He's a real guy. No Labels. So let's go over. We got one more article, but let's go over to the chat first. No Labels, by the way. So people are going to be like, hey, like No Labels. You were mentioned today on a safety doc. He actually did talked a little bit about you for a while. They're like, he's like, really? It's a hell of a thing. Appreciate that. I'm going to subscribe from No Labels, and I'm going to put a link over from nolabels.com and nolabels.biz. So, No Labels. This coffee. Coffee's good. It's just, when you start losing trust in the cup, it's just, I don't know. I felt today when I went up to the register, because it's the same lady who's been there quite a while, and she's pretty cool. I almost felt like saying, like the last cup, there was a structural failure in the cup here along the seam. And now, like, I've had this happen twice. Like, there should be at some point a comped thing of coffee here for me. Like, you would think like that would be. I can't imagine the only one that this happens to. Um, but I'm kind of like, eh. My guess is they would comp it, but then, I think it would just happen again. So let's go to chat before we get in. Oh God, let me bring this up too. I have a image. Um, um, Here. Okay. That I want to bring up. This goes back to one of our face validity articles from a couple weeks ago. So um, thank you all, Prolimitan. So yeah. So this was my finding too through numerous articles. Basically, companies that are willing to let 18-year-olds behind a wheel, and the legislation doesn't allow that. And this is also an issue for fire departments, right? You need a CDL for a lot of fire apparatus, and they're saying, hey, like, if we want to continue our fire departments, especially our voluntary, we need to be able to get CDL license into 18, 19-year-olds on our department if we're going to survive. So there's this whole weird question in there too. I think we get caught up in this thing with right now with many industries, and I think truck driving is one of those over the road haulers, that there's this move to go to automate it, right? And not only that, but then to have drones deliver things and whatever. And I mean, some of this might seem like it's a little far out there, but so there is this question. I mean, just think of it now, like electric vehicles coming out, right? Like this, and just how rapidly this is happening. Are you going to invest as much? So are you going to invest as much in over the road drivers and training and all of this stuff when you're like, well, in the next decade, we're going to have more autonomous vehicles and we're going to be this will be more dispatched. I watched a documentary yesterday, and I forget where it was, right? But anyway, it was this train, the switch station, which was next to a railroad tracks. So it was operated through like 2016. You'd have to you'd go in there. It had been around 100 years, and you'd have to throw levers and stuff to like change where all these trains would go as they came in. It's still like active, right? And then they automated this thing, and it's controlled from like 50 miles away or something like that. Now there's nobody there to do this job, and they're going to then take down this 100-year-old switch station building and they're going to move it somewhere to like a park or something because of its architecture and show the levers and stuff like that. But I think we get caught in this thing where behind the scenes, like deep down in the industry, they're like, I don't know, like how long are we going to keep investing in this when we're on the path to self-driving semis, right? I'm not saying I'm for this or against this. I'm just saying, because that's the progression, right? So that's why I think a lot of these industries right now are, especially essential, are getting shafted just flat out. And I had this conversation with Robert Travis, the crab boat deckhand, and one of the things we talked about is he said, there's only so much incentive to make the crab boats safer right now, like today. Even though like this one in 2003, 2005, most dangerous job in the world, Bureau of Labor Statistics, but there's only so much incentive to make this better, because the reality is you're only going to have so let me do this. All right, let me do this here, guys. All right. E from this is actually from my publisher. So I mean, okay. So what I'm doing is my publisher has a question here on the layout. Let's see what's effective for present. Don't go yet. For the sequence of figures. Review the. Don't go. Okay. I'll explain this in a second. So, all right. Hang in there, everybody. I'll do a little song so you don't bail. Dun, 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 dun. Please keep the white space for chapter 6 as per the most recent layout effective for president. There's peer review of the layout, and they did not. They recently modify it. Just confirm. I mean, so all right. Let me tell you guys. Okay. So before we move on, so my my publishing house, and we've been going back and forth on. Here we go. All right, thanks for hanging in there. So the book is done. Right, book is in the final stages of what's called proofing. Proofing is when they lay out a book and lay out images and things, and then it's much less about actual proofing, like of saying, you spelled this wrong, or that's all taken care of ahead of time. But this is when there might be questions on citations, but largely it's how things get laid out, figures, things like that, interviews, styling, and then you need to agree to it or adjust things and whatever. And we had a section in the book that I want it laid out in a way that was different than what my publisher wanted laid out per, I guess, house rules. So I had my position of saying this needs to be laid out. I mean, because I'm the author, right? Like I wrote this with an intention for the reader to be presented in a certain way. And I understand where that intersects with house rules. But we got into one chapter that was late, and they said, well, this creates a lot of white space. And so basically, because I would have an image on the left, a figure that was professionally done and scaled so it'd take up the entire left page. But then on the right page, there would be the figure name and credit. And then underneath would be a description, but then there'd be like some white space, like maybe a half page underneath. And that would happen for 4 pages. But to me, it wasn't a big deal because like the big thing was that the image, the figures were full size on the left page. So they all 4 of them together made a sequence. So as you turn, you saw one, you get a description, you see the other, get a description. So there was some white space. It wasn't that big of a deal. And it was, I mean, it's a big book. It's 4 pages. And by the time somebody gets to this late chapter, like, I don't think anyone's going to look at this and say, well, I've suddenly lost interest in this book because of the white space, like on this. I can't imagine that at all. It just, and so to me, it was a non-fit. To remove the white space meant that the images wouldn't flow from left page image, right page description, turn it, left page image, right page description, turn it, left page, right page. Like that flow would have been compromised because you would have tried to make these images smaller. And I'm like, no, it just visually I've done this like so many times and laying this out. Like, this is the way I want this to go. And I think it's a different argument if it's early in the book. The first 50 pages or something, if you have some weird layout. I'm not asking like you to print a map that you fold out or anything. I'm like, but I do want this a certain way. And so we went back and forth, and finally that email that I just received that I was kind of watching out was the publishing house agreeing to do it the way that I laid it out, which I printed everything and I laid it out. And so, but I mean, I'm like, it's my book, right? And it's a one shot thing. This is not detrimental. I know it might not be completely with house rules in this section, but there's a lot of stuff that don't match house rules. So that's just, every book has its own kind of flair, and it's extremely well professionally done and all this other stuff. I don't know. But I knew we'd come to a crossroads. Well, we were at a crossroads, and they would either say, we're going to do it our way, or we will agree to do it your way. So chalk going up for the Diesel Navy. Which movie is that from? But anyway, that's good news. I just, so I don't know. I get it. And also I don't get it, because again, I'm the author. I visually see the layout. Like, I understand the book. Like, when you get the proof, it's the actual book, right? So like, as I look at it, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this. Like, this looks good. Like, this has a style which makes sense and is logical, right? And there's nobody who's going to not buy this book because of this layout. They won't even recognize it. They would recognize it though if it wasn't done this way. So anyway, one of those quirky things. So actually I want them to change the back cover too, but I think I'm just going to let that go because it's not that big of a deal. So you got to pick your battles, and I'm not going to get into that. And so, anyway, I want to show you guys this. So this is a right here. This is a post, right? Of course it's a post. It's a post. It won't make it bigger. What the heck's going on here? I don't know. Okay. So this was from K-12 school shootings. I posted on Twitter. I posted this morning. So because I can't make it larger for some reason, I don't know why, even though I'm doing the Control Plus, it says, Police chase ended when suspect drove recklessly onto campus, tossed a handgun onto the steps of the Memphis high school. Students were waiting outside for rides. No injuries, multiple felony charges, including gun on property. So remember a week ago when we were, or a week or two ago, we talked face validity. It was in California where they wanted to get rid of, they wanted to lessen the consequences for drive-by shootings, right? So, and, you know, and I said, that's crazy, right? From face validity, why would you make it so there were fewer consequences for drive-by shooting? And you're saying, well, equity and stuff like that. But here's another example. I just, again, brought that up of if you are like this drive-by shooting, that can evolve to anywhere. People are on wheels, they drive places, and there they drove right, they were chased right, and they drove right Memphis high school campus, right to the campus. The guy had a gun, drove there. So the after whatever altercations. So just this crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. So let's get to the chat and then we'll get to our final article. What's up, Chief? Hey, it's our good friend, Old Humble Distilling Company from Humble, Texas. So, hey, Joe. The review I'm going to write for Amazon is going to speak specific, right? So, you could do 5-star, but you could do too much. I love it. Oh my God. You have to say, the thing is, like, most people can take on a topic like this, but to take it on with the boldness of the necessary white space, so you can pause and reflect on what you're being, let it distill in your mind, is brilliant. There's a subtlety to the way that the book is laid out too, that the chapter before this chapter, I talk about the Committee for National Morale. And in the 1940s, the Committee for National Morale and the Metropolitan Museum of Art had these democratic surrounds where they would have images of people who are preparing for war, whether it be, working in the field, working in the factory, whatever you're doing. And they specifically studied how long the distance should be between these murals so people could pause and think about what they just saw. So not getting overwhelmed, they studied this. And that's why they position these things like either 8 feet or 10 feet in the angles. So like you couldn't just shift your eyes from one to another. You had to physically move. And part of it was the Committee for National Morale was saying the white space, basically, in their displays, what made it much more effective for people to let it sink in what they just saw. And again, like, sometimes I feel like I'm crazy. Like, okay, like, I'm a professor, PhD, I study these things. I know this, and yes, I know there are industry standards and stuff, but like how I'm not crazy and and I have like peer reviewers. Like I run this by people and everyone's like, no, this is all fine. Anyway, it all ended up in my favor, I guess. I don't know. We'll see what they print. It shouldn't, I'm just glad. It's some, anyway, but yeah. But there is something when, again, I visually looked at that in the layout, there was something that gave people time for this to digest. And one of the things too is when I had these graphics made, the person who made them understood the dimensions of the book, the 6x9 and the formatting. So made them so they would be scalable without being distorted. And at first, when they came in, the publisher has a certain way that they lay out. I came back and I said, they need these images, these specific images are very dense in information, even though, you try not to overload, but the graphics and stuff like that, and to be able to kind of see what's going on. And there's a big image like that got split into 4. I said, it needs to be scaled to the whole page. Like it's designed that way. And then, so they went back and they did it. So, and now look at you guys now. So Disappointed lack of full up maps. Worst travel guide ever. 5 stars. Yeah. The funny thing too is the way that I formatted this, and I'm going to talk about proofing sometime. And this is just the way that publishing works, because it's a complex process, I guess, although it wasn't this way with the first book, but it's a back and forth, right? It's what the proof process is. So I don't know. I was going to talk it, but it doesn't like, this isn't a cost factor for them. I guess it's in aesthetics, it doesn't fit. But to me, that didn't make a difference. Like, it didn't degrade from anything. And it might add literally might add 3 pages to the book to change call it a reflow when they have to do this, which apparently is a pain. Although I guess I get it. And the other thing is I don't get it. Like, wouldn't your software just know where all the citations are? So if a page changed, it would just change it automatically in the index and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't understand. But I don't want to be made out to be the bad guy. So, so he wouldn't have been able to get those close enough if he had bollards. So, oh my goodness. Yeah, bollards. So I don't know. The one thing I've learned is, thanks, Macbeth, you need to just strongly advocate for yourself, especially older in life. I guess maybe at all times, but we got to do this. My oldest daughter and some of her school things, and just I've had many probably times in the last year to 2 years where it's like, if something you want and you believe in it, you got to strongly advocate for it. And this is just the way it's going to be. Like, when, we had ordered a vehicle, and it took months to arrive, which I understood, but then it got to a area where it wasn't being shipped up here. And I'm like, this just doesn't cut it. This is just it. So I actually got on the phone with the manufacturer, and we went through it. And I'm like, this thing needs to be up here. I've been waiting and whatever. And then 48 hours later, it's here. But I don't know. But yeah, and the thing is, and you can't feel bad about advocating for yourself. Especially if, you can do it in a kind way and things, but at some point, you just have to be this is a non-negotiable, or I'm going to really make my position heard if I think I'm in the right, or it's in the best interest of my family or whatever. So I do have some big news coming out, which I haven't shared yet. It's actually kind of old news at this point, but it involves the doc and politics, and something big going on that has the wheels already in motion for it. And it's happening. So I have not come out and formally made a statement or anything like that, but I will soon. It's already media, in my things have already come out. But I am going to be making a substantial statement, and to let people know what's happening. But yeah, so not hard to believe, but it wasn't something I was thinking about as much until the decision was actually made. So, yeah, precisely. Music is about space between notes. You got it, Macbeth. Yeah. So when you guys see the book, I'll point it out to you, kind of where we had. I think I'll do that in one of my shows, on the safety doc. I'll go through the book and say, here are different things we looked at and stuff. And I don't know. This is from Old Humble. Great use of white space. Needs more curse words. Wow. There's one curse word in the book. One curse word. It is within a quote also. And yeah, it is an S and ends with a T. One curse word within a quote. Very clean book versus anything you'd hear. So safety doc for president. So, right. So John you are correct. It is a political position. I can't. I'm not going to get into it in this show, but I'm going to focus a show on it, and I'll just say that what I I will be on a ballot for spring, and so it was time. The nominations, everything was accepted, everything was processed. So I'm not there. It's contested, but yeah, no, it's not a school board. I'll just say that. So it is a government. Well, right, that's what you would have. But so yes, I am formally running for a position. So, and the election is April 5th. But again, I'm going to formally release something to that effect, and I need to, figure out how I'm going to do that, put that together, the questions I'm going to answer, why I'm doing this. So, but I felt it was time. So crazy. It is kind of crazy. So yeah, if I do win, I'm going to have a lot less time. So, but I think I'll be able to do the shows, although like obviously meetings and other things are going to kind of cut into things, and I'll have to organize my time a lot better if this actually happens, which I think there's a pretty good chance of it happening, but I don't know. So yeah, so it's already formally done, right? Like I had submitted everything, had been accepted. I'm on a ballot. So yeah, it is happening. So I will dedicate a show to that, but I want to put together what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and then also maybe some video to go with it. And we'll make that a live one. So yeah, well, guys, you don't have to donate. I appreciate it. So yeah, there's really no need to donate. And to be, not to get too much into this, but one of the things that I've been doing is getting to know people like I've never known, right? Going directly and meeting with people, and so, and kind of just, building the network that way. So this isn't going to be this big advertising campaign here from the end, because it's just not going to happen. But yeah, it is. So all preliminary. John Rice, what did you just miss? So you missed our first three, and I've got the last one coming up here for face validity. And I just had a chat here with my publisher. So let me see here. All right, it's good. All right. Sorry, this has been kind of choppy. The thing going on the right is this communication back and forth with my publisher, and working across time zones and deadlines, and like they have to formally do the final layout like right now, which I get, like we had these timelines back and forth or whatever, but we had this kind of question. They wanted things one way, I wanted things another way, so it stalled for a couple of days, and we've got to the point now where it's basically saying, okay, if you want this your way, which goes against house style, we'll agree to that. And by the way, so what did you miss? So yeah, I am running for political office. I am not going to identify the position, but it's formal. It's not like I'm going to. It's I am. I'm on a ballot in April. And so yeah, it is. And it's a contested position, so we'll see what happens. I'll do a show. It's not a school board, so and we'll see where things go. And actually, the more I think about it, like I wouldn't say like excitement, but I am looking forward if this does happen. So so let's go to Zero Hedge, our good friends at Zero Hedge. So yeah, I tell my wife, I'm like, let me know whenever my name's in the paper now, because I don't read the paper, like she reads it, and then I can get it online because we're subscribers, but then I always forget to, and I'm like, if you see my name come up and things like that, like if there's anything in there. So but yeah. By the way, I know this is kind of going off the rails a little bit, but I contacted our library here in town, very nice library. And I said, for velocity of information, I want to donate 2 signed copies, which I did. And then, for School of Airs. And, they were popular, like, they checked out, and it's local author, right, and stuff like that. But there's been a lot of turnover in the library. So, and then I contacted, nobody responded. And then I was like, well, this is just weird. So then I contacted, like, I left 2 voicemails for people there, and somebody contacted me back, and they're like, yeah, we'll take the books. And I'm like, well, okay. I'm not to put a spotlight on me, right? But I've been on TV twice. I have another book. Like, we're not a huge community. This will be a good thing, right? Promoting a local author. I'm not trying to make money off of you. This is a beneficial thing for the library. Like, if you want, I can donate, like, that artwork I have made up that you could put on an easel for a month, and then just like call me and I'll come pick it up or something. But it's just really weird. Like, there wasn't this excitement. And then also, like, they have this page of, we do author events and we support things. So I said, is it possible for an author event? I'd be glad to come in and, talk about the book for 45 minutes, sign some copies if you want to get copies, and have people make, profit. And I said, I'm not looking to make profit off of any of this. Just like, it's a give back, right? Because I get paid to talk and present. Like, I'm giving, and this is good stuff, right? And we've always been friends of the library. Like, we had supported the library when our kids were little. We had made these donations to be like in this Friends of the Library club. But they're like, we'll see. Like, we've got a lot of things kind of planned. I'm like, I don't know if you've got a lot planned. Like, we're a small town, and this is January. The book comes out in April. Like, it's a big library. Like, this is a new building. You've got these big spaces where people come in. And I said, you can't do a night or an afternoon or an event where I come in for 45 minutes and talk about the book. Or they have a book club too. I was reading also, like, on your site, like, you can make this book available to people, and I would come in and we could talk about what is finite voltage, what is crowd in, and how did you come about this? What was it like interview? I mean, wouldn't this be like a real great opportunity for you? Like, I just, this whole kind of lack of excitement it's just weird. I don't know what to make of it, because they're open in person. I mean, it just seems like this would be an opportunity. I'm like, last time I was there and donate the books, the newspaper was there. And then so the library got some newspaper coverage, and I said, honestly, like, I'm not looking at this to make money for me. I mean, people might know about the book, and if you want to make some available and buy them and people you make or whatever. Or I'll donate some books. People, we can have raffles or whatever. So I'd like to do this. I kind of a give back to the community. And yeah, this whole kind of, okay. And I'm like, I can give you like a PDF proof of the book, well, for review only, right? So you can get an idea of like just what this is. I don't know. I'm just like, is there someone else who would actually appreciate this a little bit more? Like, your signaling on this is really pretty lame. So ZEROHEDGE is our last article. No surprise here, Americans are reading the fewest books per year. Let me go over here to ZEROHEDGE. Okay, so let's get, whoa. No, I don't want to subscribe. Let's go here to add to stream. Never cross the streams, Ray. Okay. This is from ZEROHEDGE. No surprise here, Americans are reading the fewest books on record. Tuesday, January 11th. This is by Tyler Durden. So, yeah, our good buddy Tyler Durden. It's also by Jeffrey Jones, apparently, by the Gallup. So, so Tyler's like, listen, it's by me, but it's by me because I took it from Jeffrey from the Gallup. So, interesting. Americans say they read an average of 12.6 books during the past year, or read a smaller number than Gallup has measured in any prior survey dating back to 1980. U.S. adults are reading roughly 2 or 3 books per year, fewer than they did between 2001 and 16. Okay, a couple things for face validity. No surprise here, Americans are reading the fewest books per year on record. Okay, so we would, I don't know why it's no surprise, but anyway, face validity. Why are people reading fewer books per year? So you could share that. Now, a question that'll come up in this, okay, are people, okay, they're reading, so visually reading, or does this include ebook, or is auditory book in there? But anyway, during the past year, Gallup has measured in a survey. So one of the things right away, surveys are weak. Surveys are weak. And people, it's much more accurate to, talk to people. It's much more accurate to, look at numbers such as maybe books checked out of libraries or book sales or other stuff like that. But surveys are kind of weak. So it's like, okay, people are reading fewer books. So let's get into this. So face validity, we want to see, is this really happening? What does this mean? So here's their chart. So, wow. Based on 1999 figures based on average of 2 surveys. So it's kind of interesting there. Number of books read by adults per year. Yeah, whatever. So it's kind of interesting. None. So I thought this was interesting here. The reasons for the decline in book reading are unclear, with Americans perhaps finding other ways to entertain themselves. It is uncertain whether concerns of COVID or COVID-related restrictions are leading to a decline to visits in libraries or bookstores, similar to the documented declines in air travel and movie attendance, Gallup found in the same poll. However, unlike those activities for reading, Americans can order books or download electronic or audiobooks without leaving their homes. Can't you download a movie without leaving your home? And I get the air travel thing, but that's not really a good example. So, yeah. So the thing is, people are, so what is due to, are people finding other ways to entertain themselves? We know there's a skyrocketing audiobook industry. I know that because my book will be out eventually in audiobooks. So I understand the numbers and the statistics. So once you take audiobooks, the people consuming audiobooks and podcast is another form of information, right? We talk about this podcast or any micro or whatever. People are being informed differently, but when you take audiobooks into the mix, then this isn't really accurate. This is more paper book, right? So this 12.6 books is paper book. It's not really audio as you look into this. This doesn't account for scholarly or even leisure podcasts. I guess podcasts in general, but I would say podcasts that have intent to inform. Not just like maybe a call-in podcast, right? But there's a lot of really, 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 really good podcasts out there about topical stuff. So college graduates show steep decline. The thing is, right, though, they're used to getting information electronically. So, so I wouldn't be surprised by that. It's just like newspapers, right? Um, you know, we still get a physical newspaper delivered to our house. And I remember as a kid, I mean, it was a big thing when the newspaper would arrive from Louise, the newspaper lady would throw it at the back door, Um, so this whole thing here, the bottom line, readers appear to be in decline as a favorite way. Reading appears to be, which apparently I'm not doing right now, appears to be in decline as a favorite way for Americans to spend their free time. Yeah, I don't know. The thing that's so as I go through, the thing that's missing in here, okay, is that there's nothing in here that's about audiobooks, about podcasts, about how people get information. So, yeah, Americans are reading fewest books. That's one thing. But face validity is, how are people informing themselves? How are people informing themselves? So the question is, even though reading is going down, are you getting more through audio podcast? Are you listening more on MP3 stuff? Are you streaming stuff? Right? That would have, I guess it would be, I'm not either intellectual or entertaining, right? Not music, right? But so are you doing that? And the numbers say yes, because I know that from audio as someone who's having a book produced in audio. Analyzing, podcasts and like Blanco Lirio and his channel about aviation, stuff like that, with 300,000 subscribers. And then also like 3,000 Patreon supporters just for his work, right? As a citizen journalist, giving so many dollars a month because they want that information to be out there. So I think, so what the face validity would be if you shared this to somebody, they'd be like, oh, like people just don't care anymore. And they're so part of this, as I researched this, for example, nonfiction books 10 years ago, like the stuff I write, you could do 300 words or 300 pages and about at least 200 citations. That was expected to be a quality nonfiction book. Today, that same nonfiction book is about 240 pages, and they want under 200 citations. And part of that is when you do more citations, it's more cumbersome. You have to take more time getting sign-offs, and that this is okay, and that you have permissions, and publishers don't want to deal with that as much per the industry. And people don't want to read long books; they want information shorter. Okay, so yeah, books are also becoming shorter. As Phil said, and a couple of things here, books are more expansive. Also, there's no more book culture in society. You're right. There's a societal change in this. This is missing. So I'm not saying like that to get away from books is better, because I think the depth of a book is going to be more comprehensive and more layers, right? And than what we have right now, which is either headline hopping or these shorter, almost essays that are put together. Or people like kind of debating books. Nobody really is debating headlines. So this is, if you invest in a book that is more blah, blah, you lose interest very fast. Remember, people are on a budget. Colleges are mostly multiple choice, so people don't buy textbooks anymore. So yeah. So like that's something like I know in velocity of information, it's not an inexpensive book. I mean, the paperback, there's some investment that needs to be made there, but then of course you'll have it, right? And it's a value to you. But I mean, people will invest in their tickets to sporting events or to concerts or premiere things on TV and stuff like that. But but yeah, so the whole what I think what I think is missing here. So if we go back for face validity, so the if you just shared the headline, people be like, oh, people aren't getting as much information because they're not reading as many books. And it's like, okay, true, but what the article, and people are using their spare time in other ways. Maybe, I mean, that's possible, but also the rise in audiobooks is there, and it's different format and things like that, and also different podcasts and things like that. Now, we've always had the issue, and I think the issue is growing. I wrote about this in Velocity of Information, where people are trying to hop headline to headline. And, so the news is basically, if you can get, any of these articles we're going through, which are a 2-minute read in a headline, and that's how you're trying to deeply inform people. So, it just, so one of the things is I researched this is, people aren't wanting longer books anymore. They're all of the books are going down. And Mictobus wrote, I would love nothing more than to have more time to read. I have a massive stack of unreads on my desk. No longer time to stuff. Yeah, Mictobus, thanks. So that's not, you're right. Well, I mean, you're sharing your authentic experience, which is what's missing in here. That again, it's this Gallup polls of right here. Gallup found 6% of U.S. adults naming reading as their favorite way to spend time. And in 1960, it was 10% identified reading as their favorite activity. So again, like this poll stuff is so-so, right? Why? Like interview some people of why. Or like interview some librarians. What are people telling you? Like why they're coming in or why they're not coming in, or what's the, So the question, and is it right? People, if they don't have the time, then what are they doing? I mean, there's bigger issues. Again, here's where you kind of come in with this last thing of saying, there's people not only identify not reading books, but like people are not as involved in civic organizations. They're not involved in their bowling leagues like they used to. A lot of these things are kind of going the way of the dinosaur. So, but I think the thing is that's missing from face validity is how are people getting information, and you're not specifically asking them. Audiobook, are you getting it from podcasts? And podcasts are totally gone in this. That it's just totally ignored, which is just flabbergasting to me, right? That they're, it's just crazy. So, or even saying, are you getting it from social media or whatever? So just like, where are you getting this stuff then? How do you become informed? What informs you? It's missing. So, let's go. Alex. Hey, Alex. I remember I used to carry 3 books in my rucksack when going to train in the field for the Army if we ever got some downtime. But when I got into Kindle, now I carry a library in my hand. Yep. My book will be available on Kindle, by the way. I'm with you. So that's where this, and it's expensive. One of the reasons my book is expensive in print is because print has gone up with inflation sharply versus a year ago. So just what it is. But I mean, it's an ebook, and then it'll eventually be out in audio, and audio be a lower price point. So if you want the information, you want the research, you kind of got to commit to the price. You got to pay the premium, which is set by the publisher, not me. But Alex said I can still read 300 pages in 5 hours on a good day. 8 and wow, yeah. To be honest, I physically read a lot of books between like 2013 and maybe 16. And then I kind of backed off and went more into audiobooks. Like my friend Aaron Clary, like we talk, and he's like, he loves audiobooks, but he doesn't really read books anymore. I'm kind of like the same way, but I need to listen a few times to an audiobook to kind of, figure out the themes and what resonates with me. But I love my audiobooks. The Kindle's taken over paperback books. Yeah. And it's a matter of efficiency and production. And, portability and things. Libraries too. Like they just uh, don't want to dedicate the space to the paper books. I feel like I'm kind of coming in at the end of the era, Alex. Now that I drive a truck with a co-driver, now my space is limited, so I brought 3 favorite exercise books for reference. All right, buddy. Nice. Yep, Masons and Knights, Pythia is dying off. Yeah, John. So that's kind of a bridging of this story that where it's saying, the books in a past time. What would have made this better from face validity or from face validity, even as you read this, the question then to come up or somebody shares this with you is, what are some other things like that people enjoyed or pastimes that, in the last 10, 20 years that just aren't there? And again, bowling leagues, card clubs, like all of these things, not just for people in, their senior years. I think it was the JCs and the Rotary, like that was the majority of population in that was always 20 to 40 people, 20 to 40. And it was kind of like their inroad into the businesses and into the communities, and they're just gone. So these, Lions Club, all of these things are barely hanging on. I'm going to do a story on that on one of my Monday shows, because the membership is just so devastated across the country. And a lot of these are just shutting down. The Masons, for example, like they shut down in my beautiful building, like 100-year-old plus building. And it was torn down and maybe like 5 years ago. And then they just had days where you could come in, you had to bring like a screwdriver and stuff with you. If you found stuff you wanted, you'd say, I want this light fixture on the wall. And it'd be like, okay, like you got to take it off and it's yours for $9. Yeah. It's just so sad. It was such a ornate building, but it's like no membership. And it made more sense to just sell it for development of that area. Alex, I also prefer audiobooks and driving. Yeah, so do I. When I teach in fall at the university, I have to drive 90 miles one way. It's all interstate, thankfully, but I download audiobooks. So, my Saturdays in fall are at the university and on the way there and the way back. I love it. So I really do. Don't even have time for my Kindle, over 250 plus unreads on that thing. Work and family leaves little time for pass. Make the best say, I'm sorry. And I'm surrounded by books, and I'm surrounded by terrific books that I, want to read. And I haven't, they've been on the shelf for a couple of years, like, right. So that's when people ask me, philosophy of information, is there an audio version? I'm like, there will be. And like, I absolutely, with my publisher, needed to make sure that was there. It doesn't come out at the same time, but it's being developed, because I said, people just, need that. At least there's a better chance that they're going to do the audiobook just for the timing. But yeah, I have some books I ordered on lost person behavior, which are fascinating studies of, somebody gets lost in the woods, they're young, old, dementia, disability, no disability, whatever. And these case studies then of what they did, how the searchers found them, and then they take these characteristics of people and say, okay, if somebody is young, this is the first things you want to look for. If they're elderly, this is what you want to look for. If they're, and how I thought it was fascinating. Like, I read some of it, but then I'm like, I just never got back to it. So yeah, I really felt better when I was committed to reading a book maybe I would probably complete one book every 2 weeks. And I had like an area either upstairs, or I would actually go to the library, and they have this little fireplace room, and I would just really nice comfy chairs, and I would sit down and with a cup of coffee and just kind of, work through. But yeah, John put, video killed the radio star and the internet killed the rest. Yep. Yeah. I still bowl. I'm the youngest by a lot. Good for you, buddy. I used to. I was a pretty good bowler. And I'm pretty sure I could get back into it and still do really well. So just kind of, I don't know, just don't do it. It's not really a family thing. And John Rice, yep, AC's rotaries and lines, yeah. And I need to do a show on that, and I maybe need to get Luke Risner, the Cincinnati Piper, because Luke talked about that not too long ago. But it is, those things are really devastating to the vesting in the fabric of communities. The little things, like getting together and fixing up a park, and well, I mean, more than that, right? But they're leaving big holes in the community. I volunteered with our church, and then other churches, in kind of this non-denominational Saturday free lunch, which was really kind of a community event. And it, like, for 3 years, and people just lost interest, and it just faded away. So people were always showing up to participate in the lunch, but yeah, it's too bad. Alex, I own Eric Clare's Bachelor of Pet Economics physical book. I've not read it. I listened to the book. Yep. So, Ambucks, yeah. Toy Town, I don't read a lot. When I do, there's a sense of accomplishment when I finish. So maybe at least the smaller books chosen by people my age. I feel a sense of accomplishment too. And that's one thing, like my book. So School of Errors was 204 pages. So 2 nights, you've got it done. And the Velocity of Information be maybe like 210. So again, 2 nights, you'll have it done. If the Velocity of Information would have been a 300-page book, most people wouldn't read it. If it's under 200 pages, fewer people read it, because they'll look at it and say it's a nonfiction book. There's not as much value here because it's under 200 pages. So you really got to be kind of between like 2 and 250. And this is like proven, right? Like right now, if you're nonfiction, 2 and 250, and people who want nonfiction want also, what is it? They want an index to kind of help them navigate it quickly, but not only table of contents, but index. Elks Lodge and so many more. Yeah, I should make a list of those, like all of these things that were around when I was a kid, and then they're gone now. And then I could even like interview and talk to some people with that. So, all right. Well, everybody, this is it. I'm going to have a couple shows coming up. Thanks for hitting the thumbs up. Thanks for watching. The show has definitely gone up in viewer hours sharply. So thank you so much for that. Greatly appreciate it. If you do know somebody who is a truck driver over the road, especially drives across states, if you can email me, my email information is in the contact. It's the about thing here for the YouTube channel. I want to get somebody on and talk to them, and I appreciate that. So make the best. Have a great weekend, Doc. Oh my God, it's hard to believe I didn't even think tomorrow's Saturday. Yeah. Well, thanks, buddy. Same to you. Everybody have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday night, 8:15 on the Safety Doc. And by the way, like, I have a really cool intermission that somebody has made for me, just kind of gifted, and that is going to be coming out soon. And yeah, click share in the comments. Comments also help. Comments. I respond to comments. So I do have a couple things. One is a political, kind of what's happening in the political realm here for the doc. I'll give you some book updates and some other stuff too. So thank you for joining me here on Face Validity Friday. It is your good friend, the Safety Doc. I am going to bring in, because this is what's going to be happening here today. So right here, it's gonna be snowing. So all right, take care, everybody. It is your good friend, the Safety Doc. MK Joe, John Rice, Toy Town, Mictibus, Alex Patino. Sorry, Alex. And Phil Henry, MK Joe, everybody. Take care. This is your good friend, the Doc. I am out.